Thank you for joining us as we glide on the slide. This podcast aims to normalize important conversations that are required in our community, such as education, politics, economics, and justice. But before we try to cross the seas of controversy, it's important that we build a vessel that'll give us transport. Today, I'm honored to be joined by my primo, Mr. Carlos Peralta. Thank you for joining us today. Carlos, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Man, it's an honor. It's an honor to be here in this space with you today as we begin the process of talking about leadership. This is our executive leadership season for the slide because I just feel that it is necessary for individuals who may not have had some of the opportunities that have been afforded to some of us. I still want to create an opportunity for them to learn from those experiences by proxy. So, introduce yourself, Carlos. Who are you? Where are you from? Tell us about you.
All right. So, Carlos Peralta, right? Who is he? I was actually born in Colombia, and when my parents when I was 2 years old, my parents moved over and to Miami. Lived in Miami for my youth, around 10 years old. Parents split. That was definitely difficult. My mom went back to Colombia. Lived there for my teenage years. So my formative years were actually in Colombia, and I strayed. The excuse was, my parents divorced, of course, so I got a little rebellious, and I got one point where my dad was living here in the States still, while my mom was dealing with me, and my dad said, "All right, you're done. You're going to military boarding school, or we're not paying more for your education." Best thing my father could have ever done for me. I went from, I never got into big trouble, but I was off course, failed a grade, just wasn't responding to what I had to do. Put me in a Army military school, boarding school, when I was, I want to say maybe 15, 16. And again, best thing ever happened to me. Really refocused me, and from that point on, I saw that I liked the military lifestyle. I liked structure. Structure was a big thing. Being far away from my father, not having that father figure living with me during my formative years probably didn't help me stay in line. But that 1 year that I was in the boarding school helped me get that structure. And from there on, I was top of the class. After 1 year of boarding school, the school was so impressed and how well I was doing in academically and how I took to the military lifestyle. I just moved into regular school, military school, right? And at that point, within a year, they were starting to give me small leadership roles all the way up through graduation, and it progressed. Kind of like the academies here, as you become senior, you're kind of running the school in a leadership position. So graduated military high school, and I wanted to come back to the States because I was on and off coming back to the States, obviously with my dad being here.
Matt, you were attending military school. Where was the location of the military school?
Bogota, Colombia.
In Bogota, Colombia. You went to military school in Bogota, Colombia.
Oh, yes.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah, it was, and a little bit of risk involved in it too, because I was living in Colombia during the years that Escobar was alive. And I can tell you there's a couple of the events that happened in history I was very close to, where I could hear the bomb go off, And even military school students were kind of, you didn't really want to be in your uniform out and about. So a little bit of an introduction to, what military life would be. And as soon as I graduated, I came to the States. And I was either go straight to college. At that time, my dad had moved to Canada. I couldn't go to Canada. With my military background, my dad's like, "Why don't you, look at the military?" You know what, Dad? You're right. And so I looked at the Air Force. Aviation has always been my passion. That moment that I tried to get in the Air Force, they didn't need me right away. So I did all the testing, good ASVAB, ready to go. My recruiters holding me back. Marines tried to get me. Army tried to get me. And then finally the Navy, they brought me into their office, with their talk. And it's probably the best thing that could happen for me. I didn't think the water was for me, but aviation for sure. They put me in as a mechanic in aviation, and it was fish in the water. I came in as an E2. I was an E5 within a year. So just took to it the structure, the military lifestyle, jumping into leadership roles, learning the technical aspect of it, and then teaching it back. I was fortunate to be a good teacher of what I had learned.
Do you believe that the transition from E2 to E5 in a year, which is very, very impressive for individuals who may not be aware of what is required in order to advance in the military, do you think that that process was seeded by your time at the military boarding school?
Absolutely, absolutely, because I was receptive to everything that's required. To be a leader, you have to be a good follower. At first you may not believe in what a principle or directives or even certain directions that your leaders might be taking you, but you have to be willing to at least have the notion of, okay, let's see what it's about, and then buy into it. Not conform, because conformity is not necessarily good, but having a healthy questioning of not authority, but the general situation is good, because you can provide feedback to your leaders. And it did help me out. Obviously there's an academic piece of it. In the Navy, you do have to pass a test to advance, but you got to be ranked also to your peers. So made it really quick in the E5, and then it did take me a little bit to get to E6, but that was just the structure of the Navy at the time. But made it to E6. Was given a recruiting position. Within a year of being a recruiter, I became the recruiter in charge for the largest recruiting station in the south side of Chicago. So I'd never lived in a large city, and I became a recruiter in one of the toughest markets there is, south side of Chicago. I ran that station for about 2 years, concurrently getting my bachelor's degree. And my dream was to fly. So the day I graduated, or I had my paper stating I was going to graduate, I went to the Navy, said I want to be an officer, applied, and immediately that first round I got selected. Wasn't perfect, because I didn't get selected as a pilot. I got selected as a naval flight officer, which you're kind of really a quarterback in that point, where you set the missions up instead of actually flying the airplane. But again, one of those things, life I was in the right place, and life responded to my actions. And I had a pretty healthy naval officer career.
I like that, and not to break your current thought, but you said life responded to your actions. You were placed in one of the toughest markets on the south side of Chicago, never having been in an environment like that. Simultaneously, you were attending to your education. What was driving you to make those sacrifices?
I had a plan, and I had this desire for growth, and I don't accept failure. If I have a goal, that's my focus. I look at the environment around me. I don't want to trample over people or use people as stepping stones. I look at what's around me, what resources I have, and I go for it. So developing strong relationships with the people that are my leaders. The leader I had at the time, as a recruiter in charge for that station, I had a new chief that came in, and we butted heads the first time out, because I was already successful. I already had something going for me. I was running a good office. This brand new chief came in, E7, right? I'm an E5 still at the time, and he came in all hard because, first of all, this man, not very tall. He was a 5'3" maybe, bosun mate in the Navy. So he came in, he wanted to establish himself, but he didn't need to do that with me. So at first we butted heads, and all it took was a hard moment, and then we both had clear heads, come together, come to the center, find out, okay, so we don't have to have this kind of relationship. What kind of relationship can we have? What are your goals? What are my goals? Do they match? How can I support him? How can he support me? And that's where it went. So he would give me guidelines. I need this from you, and then you can have this that you need to achieve your goal, get your degree, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So the military is an environment that's set up based on subordination. But now, as an E5, you had a difficult moment with your E7 chief. Do you feel that difficult moment was necessary, and how did you structure the moment in order to be able to ensure that you came out of the engagement successfully? Because in the military, there are opportunities for those type of situations to end terrible. So how did you manage it?
I think it's going to take two to tango. They're having a good leader and knowing how to follow, right? Never got personal, you know. We disagreed vehemently. Never broke the respect barrier. I just, this is not how it's going to work, We gave ourselves some space, and then we're both willing to come back to center. You have to admit where you were wrong, and was I wrong in the way I reacted? At some point, yes. I felt that it was uncalled for the way he approached. But, and something that those kind of difficult situations prepare you for the ones that you're going to have when it's your turn to be on the other side, right? And one of the things that I've taken from situations like that is I put myself in everybody's shoes. All right, if I'm going to if I'm leading a group, a team, how do my decisions affect them? Does the environment around them affect their life at work, life at home, their morale? So I put myself in the situation why he did it, and I understood. Yeah, he's coming in, and maybe the physicality of it, because again, he's working next to a whole bunch of them, not necessarily tall, but all of us were younger, kind of forward leaning. We were all pretty strong recruiters. He wanted to set his marker that, hey, I'm the one in charge now. You're gonna do things my way. He didn't need to do it because we would have played ball. But then again, I didn't have to be so hard-headed. Maybe I should have approached him. And again, it's one of those things. Difficult moment. Take some time. Come back to center, and you can make it through any situation. Don't let emotion, which we both, you could tell both of us were upset. But we had the mind to come back together and find a solution.
You said something that I think was profound. You said those type of situations prepare you for situations like that you'll experience in the future. Have you saw in your experience as a leader wherein that difficult interaction with your chief was necessary for you as you became chief? Because when you had the initial interaction, you were E5, making your bones. But now you're the established leader in the environment. Do you, as the established leader in the environment, see the necessity of how chief established himself when he came in that environment?
I do. Absolutely, maybe his approach to it, but one of the things I also do is I don't just learn from my mistakes. I learn from others. And going through my own thought process, what triggered me to react so negatively? So maybe the approach, before I have to make a difficult decision or have a difficult conversation with somebody, I run the scenario through my head, like, what is he going to be thinking? How can I broach a subject or talk about a difficult situation beforehand? And I'm not going to have all the answers, but at least I can be prepared for them and try to soften the blow. So instead of coming in real hard, you come at an angle where you might minimize the impact or the abruptness of the encounter with a subordinate.
Yeah, that's important because the military itself is inherently violent. Like, our environments promote difficult engagements. They're actually what you need in order to build effective teams. A lot of individuals would believe that the pleasant conversation or pleasantries is an environment that lacks toxicity, and that's not necessarily true. In my experience, environments that lack the courage to engage in difficult conversations or deal with difficult problems are oftentimes the most toxic, but you don't realize it until you've been so affected by the toxicity that there's no repairing the environment. How, as a leader, and again, I'm all over the place because I have an opportunity to be right now with my primo. For individuals who don't understand who the man is that we brought onto the slide today, this is Mr. Carlos Peralta. When I left the United States military and joined Amazon, which is one of the largest global employers on the face of the earth, as a senior leader in the United States military, I always recognized the need for mentorship. So when I joined Amazon, I had the blessed opportunity to work with you as my partner, right? I served as your wingman, if you would, working back half twilight on Amazon. I learned a lot of lessons from you. You helped me to really transition back into the civilian world. You gave me a sounding board to bounce ideas off of. So now, as I glean from your wisdom, I want to be able to assist others with being able to do the same things with some of the things that you shared with me during some of the more difficult days of my life, even though they wouldn't seem difficult. But as you're going through transitions are hard, right? How do you manage it? How was it for you transitioning from military service to corporate America?
Oh, that was the term, I can't stress the term adaptability. It's switching from a world where it is expected that people will follow what you ask them to do. Give them orders, what we do in the military, right? There's no real orders in the civilian world, right? It's that's where you have to compel, convince, inspire. And I would say inspire is probably the strongest word there for somebody to want to follow you and believe in what you get that buy-in from the people that you're going to lead in. Why are you making the decisions? So that was definitely, I had to really dig in deep and how do I work with these people that now they could just tell me to whatever with you, no.
Right.
No.
And in my mind, that is not the thing to do. I'm the freaking first sergeant. You don't get to tell me what you are or aren't going to do. I may have been running through the warehouse one night trying to find individuals to receive training, and we were short some critical roles. And the young lady said, Tavares, we need such and such, so many people trained in these various skills. So I'm running through the warehouse and I'm identifying individuals based on what I see, how I rate talent, how I rate dedication and commitment. And I'm taking these individuals and I'm putting them where I believe that they needed to go. Well, I returned back to the individual who was the learning trainer for this particular cohort of individuals, and none of the individuals were there. And I said, well, where are those individuals that I brought you to be trained? The young lady replied, she said, you didn't ask them if that is what they wanted to do. That was the greatest culture shock of my life. For the first time, I realized that I was not the absolute authority, that it was required that in order to lead in this environment, like you said, in order to lead in this environment, I am going to have to develop the ability to inspire individuals in order to get things done. And as I inspire individuals towards getting things done, it'll make my military leadership even a little more effective, because now they'll be leading based on two different components. They're inspired by my example, but then they're also respecting my experience, which is something that was unique during that transitional period. What is leadership to you? What do you look for in leaders, and what is leadership to you?
Simple enough. It's the ability to inspire other people to a common goal. For me, it's taking an idea, taking a mission, taking a task, and being able to complete that task in harmony with my team, bringing them together, having them believe in that. At the end of the day, in the real world, it's the almighty dollar. But if you can get the buy-in, if you can inspire these people to believe why we're doing beyond just the monetary gain, it's coming together. Hey, this is what it started out as. This is what we finished off, and we did that together. No matter how small the task, and find a way to instill pride in what we're doing. But it's that inspire piece, right? When you go to school, you get the formal training. You got managers, you got leaders. Managers processes and things. Leaders, we inspire our people. It's that people aspect. It's being able to communicate effectively and get everybody to that common goal.
Yeah, I like your definition, the ability to inspire others toward a common goal. In the United States Army, and that's where I basically derive my leadership definition from. Is we say that leadership is the process of influencing individuals by providing motivation, direction, and purpose, which is actually the same thing. It's the spirit of it is the same thing. Individuals who find themselves in positions of authority at times would like to believe that they're leaders because they are in these positions of authority. And one of my brigade commanders, Mr. Patrick Disney, he would always say, if you have two individuals together, one of them is the leader, right? So there's always going to be someone exercising a degree of leadership. What would you recommend to an individual to help them hone that ability, though? What was it for you that helped you to develop as a leader? Or do you believe you was born a leader?
I was developed. I mean, there's certain characteristics and ability that you have to have. But you know, a- as we transition out, you realize that you lose the little collar device, which indicates to everybody that you're a leader.
Mm.
So now out here, how do I indicate that I'm a leader to the people that I work with? It's tough because I've transitioned with you work for me. I don't like people calling me boss. My work family, we all come together. There is not a thing I ever ask anybody to do that I'm not willing to do myself, unless it's unsafe, right? And using that idea, that really helps people to see, why I should be the leader, right? I'm not going to ask anybody to do anything I won't be willing to do myself.
Right, right,
So,
right. And that's the experience that I had joining Amazon. Once I realized that intellectually there were a lot of data requirements that would require study and research. However, I'm in the job right now. The demand is present, and I'm equipped as a leader with a certain type of ability. So, like you, let me roll up my sleeves and let me get in here with the people and let me work so that while I'm giving myself an opportunity to develop the intellectual capacity to succeed in the environment, I'm using my grit and determination to earn the respect of the individuals in the environment, which gave me the ability to kind of be successful in the things that I'm doing. But it's not an easy task. Like, you got to be committed as a leader. What advice would you give to somebody that's following in your footsteps? Guy getting ready to lead the military, right? It was a leader in the military, because I'm known for telling individuals, particularly when I was serving at Fort Hood, you sergeant major or you colonel, you general, that's on post. Once you get off post, people off post don't care what your military grade or your military rank was. That's illusory if we believe that because the United States Army or the United States military conferred on us an honor, that same honor is going to be received by people in the community. You got to go out and you got to go earn that, right? So what advice would you give to somebody that's coming on your heels, getting ready to make one of those huge transitions?
well, the biggest thing is you got to let it go a little bit, right? And be willing to embrace the principles that you had before still work. It's just, it's going to take more of that people skill and powers of coercion, right? So just be ready to let go. What you did was great. You're still going to be respected for what you did, but take what you learned and build something new with it. Don't fall back. Oh, because I was a master sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain. That doesn't mean you're going to succeed out here. Be humble enough to know that just because you did what you did outside, that wasn't enough. Now you start anew, but you have more resources than you did when you were 20-something, right? Just graduating college or whatever. So you have the tools. Just be willing, be humble, come out, use those tools, and build yourself anew out here. If you're gonna go into government work where you're kind of still, in the shadows of what we did, great, but just humility. I would say have humility as you come out into the civilian sector, and know that you do have the tools. Just go out and re-earn it, rebuild who you are, establish yourself, and continue to learn, because boy, do I learn every single day. I was with Amazon, and that was a beast. Different relationships. I think one of the hardest things we might have had this conversation when we were working together. You work with a bunch of people that were volunteer themselves to give their life for their country, so they have the desire to be there. We were working in an environment that was part-time, so not a lot of people were invested into what they did. It was just a means for extra income. How do you motivate those people? Mm-hmm. I struggled with it, because I wasn't used to it, and it was getting down and dirty with the associates, being down there with them, showing them that, hey, you can have fun with it. There is actually a purpose for it, even if it's a part-time. Find what drives people to want to succeed.
Yeah, I had a similar experience working for Amazon, because coming from the military is is a captive audience, right? Everyone that is there, they're there for a specific purpose. And after they volunteer, there's a set of rules that they agree to be governed by that gives me a certain type of authority where I don't have to put up with any foolishness from them, you know. And because of the nature of the environment, individuals in the environment, through the training, discover the ability to generate motivation, even in circumstances where normal individuals would not find any satisfaction or enjoyment in the things that they're doing. The military is a very, very, very unique experience. But then when you're working with individuals that don't have to care about anything, is how do I make you care about something that does not matter? I had an epiphany maybe about a year and a half ago. I was in a class of new Amazonians, and as I was looking around in the class, I was asking myself, why the hell are y'all here? Like, what made you go fill out this application to do all of this labor that you're getting ready to do? Because you are about to do a lot of labor. What is it that is driving you? And in that moment, I realized that these individuals that's in this space, they don't even know why they're here, right? So I recommended to that group of individuals that they prioritize the experience of being here over even what they were going to get paid for being here, because the experience in being here and what they were about to see and experience and learn would become lucrative once they convert that experience into their resume, right? So now it's kind of like what you were saying earlier about leadership, the ability to inspire individuals toward a goal. So instead of working towards trying to accomplish, you know, our key performance indicator, what I started doing in that moment was working towards creating a dynamic experience by which a person will be able to articulate it in power in their next stop in life. Because if you're successful here, then the next, I ain't even got to worry about on what's going to happen. If you're focusing on being successful in the future, right now we're going to be the beneficiaries of that same type of success. And so now, you know, it kind of operates seamlessly. We got a lot of good guys over there too. And, you know, and shout out to all of those individuals that had the opportunity to work with Primo. Shout out to all of those individuals who may watch this and have had the opportunity to work with us as y'all watching us on our evolutionary track. But this is just the middle part of it. So, you know, so enjoy what you're watching, because we're all on a journey towards evolution, growth to our eventual destiny. And we don't know what that looked like. But what we can kind of safely be certain is that we're in that age group where we get to determine what it will look like. So what is the future for leadership in our nation? What do you see as the leadership paradigm of the future?
Oof, I think technology, the easy access of it, and what drives people has definitely changed. You know, you see everybody walking around with their phone, right? Getting their attention, getting them to drop that phone. All right. It's in itself, I think, is a little scary, and I do see a lot of people also trying to go towards like the individual contributor, because there aren't a lot of people with the training. I think the skill sets are there, so it's going to take a lot of work, I think. Is there potential out there? Yes. I mean, kids nowadays are so smart. Being able to communicate, even though we have, you know, these nice gadgets that let us communicate in person, is something that we're not doing a lot. So it's going to take work to develop those interpersonal skills face to face. You know, very easy to send a strong worded message, email. Are they going to have the ability to do that in person? I would recommend people to, from now, start working on that. Don't lose that ability. Very easy to send an email telling people, hey, I need you to do this, or it's, can you stand in front of a group of people and inspire them? Can you explain the goal? You know, why are we doing it, right? Getting that buy-in. I use that word a lot when I'm trying to lead people. I need them to understand why we need to do this. So that is a prospect that's kind of scary, keeping that skill set out there with the younger generation. But if they're aware of it, at least they know what they have to develop, right? Make sure that you are comfortable speaking to people, you know, have that interpersonal relationship. But it's pretty bright. I mean, I see it. I have a 21-year-old right now. He did ROTC at school, developed some great skills. And I still see him using those skills to this day. So if you were exposed to them in sports and ROTC, something like, don't lose them. Don't allow themselves to get lost in technology. Because I think that could be the one thing that will deprive us from having good leadership in the future. But they're, smart as can be in the ability, they're very adaptable. This generation is very adaptable. So as long as they're willing to embrace the skill sets and the tools needed, it's going to look good.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today on the slide. Thank you for sharing with us, your leadership philosophy, some of the experience from the past. Man, we walked all the way from Bogota, Colombia. And I'm telling you something, I always knew that Primo was in the cartel. This is the first time I ever got a chance to really flex on the boat. You know what I'm saying? You took me out on the boat. So thank you. Thank you for sharing with us today. And let's learn from the words shared here today. And let's not dull ourselves as we travel towards the future. Continue to hone those skills, particularly those soft skills, those soft leader skills that are required in order to be able to manage and lead environments effectively. At the end of the day, even with the surge in technology and the emergence of artificial intelligence, we are still human beings, and we're going to require leadership at some level, even if it's at the individual level, learning how to lead and govern ourselves. So continue to work on it, continue to refine it, continue to seek mentors and guides that'll allow you the safety and the comfort to make those mistakes as you grow into your new reality. And if you have any questions about how to accomplish this, you can just visit us at sixfigureboss.com. That, again, that's www.6figureboss.com, and we'll help you with it, because we know that it's a skill that is diminishing in our environment, and it's something that is absolutely necessary. So just join us here on the slide, and we're going to do everything in our power in order to equip you with those things that we know for certain are lacking right now in our environment. With that being said, we thank you for joining us again, and remember, you can run, you can glide, but you can't hide on the slide. Take care.